welcome everybody to the sixth episode of the Oreninc podcast series with David Erfle, the junior minor junkie. David, thanks for joining me again this morning.
Oh, thanks for having me, Kai. Always great talking to you.
Yeah, we already chatted like 20 minutes before pushing the record button, and we've already discussed most of the topics we wanted to talk about it quite comprehensively. But one thing I'm going to start with, and I hope I'm not dampening the mood too much, but we're going to talk about the Oreninc Index real quick and what we've seen in the markets over the last couple of weeks. And as I mentioned to you earlier, it's not looking pretty out there. Things are drying up, and we're definitely in the summer months now. Our index keeps ticking lower, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see an index score of about 20 during midsummer, which is going to be very depressing to see. But that's what it's going to be like. And I was actually a bit surprised not to have seen it this week already, but we've seen some broker action in the market, and since the broker activity is fairly heavily weighted in our index ranking, we're holding steady at 29 points right now. And of those 19 placements that have been announced last week, 4 of them were brokered, but only for $8 million, which is also a measly number in my opinion. But at least brokers are active despite summer being around the corner. I think school gets out this or next week in Canada, and things are definitely slowing down.
Absolutely.
David, we got a lot of things to talk about. I think it was quite exciting. Quite exciting times actually last week, especially with the Fed rate hike, the gold or the dumping of gold contracts in the markets on Friday, but also how the juniors and minors reacted to it, and I think that's what we should talk about.
Sounds good. Yeah, I was. It was funny. I was just about ready to hand in my column on early Friday morning, and I noticed the gold price started to sell off pretty hard, and I had to change my wording a bit in the column, and the headline turned out to be "Gold Bulls Whipsawed," because that's exactly what happened. I mean, you had a few analysts in the sector come out and call a breakout, which technically they were not correct, and we did have a false move higher, and the mood was very bullish, especially since the dollar index went up so much on Thursday after that euro dump of almost 2%, and the gold price was actually going up with the dollar, as both were acting as safe haven currencies there. But then the next day, the rug was pulled out from under the bulls, and I warned in my column on Friday that if the gold price closed below 1280 on that day, then we would probably see 1260 pretty quickly this week. And sure enough, the price closed just below 1280 at about 1278 on Friday, and we've already seen 1269 printed this morning. But we are getting a bit of a pop right now with some safe haven demand coming in because of what's going on in the equity market being sold off. But I still would not be surprised to see that 1260 level hit this week. But on the bullish case here, bullish side, short term, it's very oversold. The gold price is at a daily RSI right here, where it's usually had a nice bounce ever since we've been going up since early 2016 and during this move. So I would not be surprised to see a bounce, but we also have to be careful for the monthly close coming up here, because next Friday is going to be the last day of the month. And I would not like to see the gold price close below 1260 on a monthly basis. If that happens, I think I'm going to have to change my views on the medium term.
Oh, that wouldn't be good at all. No, and since especially everybody's gone for the summer,
Right.
people will just liquidate positions and wait for September to come. So
Exactly.
that's definitely something we don't want to see. One thing I've read that over 9 million ounces of paper gold were sold on Friday. Any idea where that selling came from all of a sudden? Because it was just one waterfall.
Oh, geez, all these manipulation theories that get bandied about, sure, there's manipulation in the gold
Well, I'm
market.
not
There's
saying it was manipulation, but it looked interesting. All of a sudden, 9 million ounces of contracts were dumped, right?
Right. Yeah, but all, all I can tell you is I go by price and what happens with the price. And when I see something like that, it gives me pause. I don't worry too much about where it comes from, because I like to base my outlook on what's going on with the charts. And as far as gold is concerned, like I said, if that 1260 level gets broken on the monthly basis, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where it comes from. It doesn't matter where the selling comes from. The fact is the price would the monthly chart would be very bearish, and it wouldn't look good going into the summer months, like you said. So that being said, the silver price is looking even worse because silver's not even close to being oversold on the daily yet,
Oof.
and we've already had a pretty strong move down, and we've also seen that 1750 resistance level being tested 3 times this year, and each time it's sold down hard right when it gets near that area. That's not good either.
No.
So I put out a an alert to my subscribers that I would be selling my 2 silver producers that I had bought recently, when it looked like the silver price was going to break out. I wanted to have some primary silver producer exposure, but since that happened on Friday, I don't want to have any exposure to primary silver producers here, because I don't know of too many primary silver producers that are making money at at these silver prices.
It's getting
And I wouldn't
too
be,
close. Yes.
yeah, it is, and I wouldn't be surprised to see the 15 handle on silver price very soon.
Oh, that'd be scary. That'd be very scary. But onto
Yeah.
a little more positive things. You mentioned the silver producers, and one thing that like sort of made us think positively, before recording here, was that the
Hmm.
GDX and the GDXJ held up positively,
Right.
or held up actually fairly firm, only down 1.5% or 2% actually on Friday, which is not too bad given the market's
Hmm.
reaction. And actually, some of the silver producers were actually up massively in recent weeks, or in recent days
Right.
actually. So
Hmm.
you mentioned Endeavor Silver, First Majestic, and others, right?
Yeah, I mentioned that there are 3 primary silver producers that I follow whose charts look very constructive here. That is First Majestic, Fortuna Silver Mines, and Endeavor Silver. All their charts look very bullish, despite the fact of the global silver miners ETF SIL now down lower than its December low, and looking very bearish. So the like I said, the those three primary silver producers having bullish charts is encouraging. And what is also encouraging is the GDX and the GDXJ continue to trade in this tight Bollinger Band range, despite what the gold price does on the upside or the downside. It's amazing. It's the gold price, when it appeared like it was about to break out, the miners really didn't react. Now that it appears like it's about to break down below some strong support levels, it's not reacting either. It's weird. It's like there's no buyers, but there's no sellers, and all these junior trees that keep falling in the forest. There's nobody really around to listen, so nobody's buying them. It's A lot of them just continue this slow burn down, and becoming even better values. So you just have to be patient with a lot of cash, and pick your spots, because this still is a stock picker's market, and the stock picking is good now, but you just have to be very, very careful.
The stock picking is very good right now, and I've seen a new buying opportunity for my own portfolio almost every day, which kind of scares me
Hmm.
because I look at stocks like, really, at this level, it's
Yeah,
insane, and
yeah.
I can't stop myself from thinking, like, I should start a list, but how do you pick them in the end, right? Like, because a lot of them are cheap, and we talked
Yeah.
about. Let's say for the companies, I just came back from a site visit here. So a Red Pine Exploration, a Cartier
Hmm.
Resources. Red Pine is trading at 6 cents. They have roughly 3.5 million ounces of gold there in the Wawa Gold Camp, which is phenomenal.
Hmm.
Cartier sits on $13 million in cash, trades at 20 million market cap, has a fantastic project in the Chimo mine. I'm just
Agnico owns 20%.
Exactly. Like, I'm just puzzled by
Yeah,
the valuations, right? And but you can't
yeah,
buy them all. That's the other problem I have.
exactly,
There are limited
exactly.
funds available, unfortunately. But it
Right.
just feels like now is the time to buy, and that's the gut feeling I have. And you have to choose your battles. You won't always choose winners, but choosing
Hmm.
winners might be triggered by M&A activity in the market right now, and we've seen a lot
Yeah.
of that in just the last few days.
Right. Exactly.
So
Yeah, it has heated up, and I was very encouraged Sunday night when I saw in my inbox that South 32 had made an all cash offer for Arizona mining. When's the last time you saw an all cash offer in this sector? It's been a while.
it's been a long
Um,
time.
yeah,
So
so that was very encouraging. And then yesterday at the close, we had Bonterra and Metanor making a combination merger deal, and you know, that that obviously needed to happen. It makes sense, but as far as if you're a Bonterra shareholder, it's even more dilution for that company, which I think their share structure has tripled in the past year.
yeah, it's 400 something million now, and I
Yeah,
think it's pretty much a 50% dilution if I'm not mistaken, for with
yeah,
the new deal, which is
hmm
crazy. But I have to look deeper into the deal because I'm not sure because Metanor has that has a functioning mill. I'm not sure how
right.
far it is away from it and whether the you know
Oh,
the,
it's
the
right next door. Yeah, it's really close. I mean, that's a very nice that's a very nice land package they got there now. So everything looks good as far as the merger is concerned. But as far, like I said, as far as I used to be a Bonterra shareholder, and I sold it after the last dilutive financing because I just thought that the dilution was getting a bit excessive. I think they're over drilling the project, and I just the downside is now limited with over 400 million shares out.
you mean the upside? The upside is limited.
I mean,
Downside is fully
the
there.
upside.
The
Exactly.
downside never disappears, unfortunately.
Not in this sector, right?
Oh, I wish it was. No, but I want to mention one more stock. I think before we
Sure.
wrap things up here, and we both they were both a favorite. And it's a new favorite of mine after the site visit last week, and it's been a long term favorite of yours as Wesdome as well. And
hmm
I think we should talk about that one just for a second, and what your outlook is for the company, and I'll chime in here and there.
Oh yeah, it's fantastic. I started accumulating it last year during tax loss, and I bought some more this year when it sold back down to those levels, and it has moved up strongly in the past few months based on a few newsletters uh, uh, adding it and recommending it, and also the new management team has turned the company around, and they're more exploration focused, which I think is a good approach because there's still a lot of high grade gold there that that needs to be discovered, and the balance sheet looks good. I think they've got like 22 million cash and no debt.
That's one of my favorite parts, actually. Yes.
Yeah, and a super tight share structure that is tightly held. And the management team from St. Andrews, you know, they made me money when Kirkland bought out St. Andrews, and I think I think they're basically gonna do the same thing with Wesdome, because I think Kirkland is a natural suitor for that company.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty much a carbon copy of the Island Gold deposit or of
Hmm.
Richmond's Island Gold mine. So in terms of valuation, I think we're still a long way away from proper valuation here, especially since you're looking at it as a 200,000 ounce producer with Kiena in Quebec as well. So the reason I brought it up, and you mentioned it as well, M&A activity and a takeover target. That's one of the reasons that the stock is ranking very high on my list right now, and I
Right,
think it's a
and the
stock pick
chart's
a
very
stream at this
interesting. Yeah.
moment. It's got
Yes,
momentum, it's got
absolutely.
everything. So
Hmm.
fantastic, David. You're heading out to the Yukon tomorrow, I think. You'll be up there for
Yes,
a week. I'm quite
yes.
jealous, and you're going to see quite a few of your stock picks up there, right?
Yes, I am. I am. I'm be able to catch up with the Yukon companies that I'm invested in, and seeing some new properties that I missed on last year's tour. So yeah, I'm very excited about it. It's always a great time. The YMA is a fantastic operation. They really treat us well, and it should be a lot of fun.
Awesome. What are you what are you mainly looking for when you go on a site visit in 3 words?
In 3 words.
Or three bullet points. Let's say 3 bullet points. Three most important things you look for in a site visit.
Well, let's see. Size of the land package, uh, the the, uh, the track record of the management team, and if there's infrastructure on the property, because that's kind of a rare thing to have in the Yukon. If your project has infrastructure, you've got a big leg up.
True. That is very true. David, thank you so much for your time. I know you're about to start packing here, if you're not watching the World Cup. And
Yeah.
always appreciate chatting with you. It's a great time.
Thanks a lot, Kai. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, David.